Jitendra Singh right now, Union Minister of State, Science and Technology, Earth Sciences, in the PMO, atomic energy, space, many departments that he looks at. But today I just want to talk to you about the Prime Minister's speech. First of all, happy Independence Day to you, Dr. Singh. Many best wishes on this great occasion to you.
Thank you, Arnab.
Thank you, sir.
Happy Independence Day to you.
To you also, sir. To you. I was watching the Prime Minister's speech very closely. And some people said, why is the Prime Minister not, somebody from the opposition said, why was it a long speech? I asked him, did you want a PowerPoint presentation? Did you want it in PowerPoint in 10 minutes? It's a prime ministerial speech. And I think he laid out a great vision of where the country ought to be. He also talked about what it is that we need to do as citizens to make it possible, including a sense of individual responsibility. If you were to summarize this 80+ minute speech, what would be the central message in your view, Dr. Singh?
I think to sum it up in a single sentence, I would say it's a huge futuristic roadmap laid down by Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the next 25 years, as he has aptly described it as Amrit Mahakal. In other words, in the year 2047, when India turns 100 and is a frontline nation of the world, what will be the face of India? And because the world today is gradually prepared to be led by India. Now it's up to us to develop the capacity to lead the world. Now, taking a cue from what you were just now, I joined you, the correction when we were talking to Rakesh and Ravish. Prime Minister spent quite a time in his speech, as he's been doing in the earlier Independence Day addresses as well, to science, technology, to startups. Now, as far as space is concerned, which you spent half an hour just before this conversation with Rakesh and Ravish. What was occurring to my mind is that when it's been a huge quantum jump. When India, for example, started off its space journey with Vikram Sarabhai having stars in eyes, the USA, the USSR were on the verge of landing a human being on the surface of moon. And in 1969, when Neil Armstrong actually landed on the moon and went around, had a stroll, which BBC captured in a visual, he came back, but he did not catch the sight of the presence of water over there, which our Chandrayaan has captured now through its images. And largely also because of the huge push given by Prime Minister Modi to all the scientific pursuits. A lesser talked about fact is that just about 2 years back, he opened up space technology to private participation, public-private participation, and the media fancifully described as unlocking of space. So similarly, in today's address, he was talking of deep ocean mission, he was talking of startups, he was talking of the importance of technology, and also of those elements which could pilfer our resources, like for example the corruption, and also the participation of the citizen, as you rightly mentioned. Because if we have to visualize India as a frontline nation, as leading the world in 2047, then each one of the Indians will have to contribute his or her might, regardless of whichever pursuit we are engaged in.
Absolutely. You mentioned the deep ocean mission, and you also, the Prime Minister mentioned the space mission. How big is a target is it for the government to send a first indigenously manned mission to space? How significant is it in your view, and how much are we working towards that? Can you tell us a little bit? Because there's a lot of secrecy around the whole project, but whatever you can share.
No, I'm glad you asked that, Arnab. In fact, after Prime Minister took the decision of unlocking the space technology, much of that secrecy element is over now, because of course I agree with you, earlier on it was working behind a veil of secrecy and self-imposed confidentiality. Now, as far as Gaganyaan mission is concerned, to be very precise, we will have the first trial mission towards the end of this year or the beginning of next year, and the second mission would be carrying a robo which is a female robo called Vayomitra. So we'll have 2 trial missions before we actually send a human, an Indian into this space. Because in a mission like this, it is not only the launching part of it, the successful conduct of the entire exercise, but also equally important is to ensure the safe return and safe landing back. And therefore, we have 2 trial missions before the final mission. The first one, hopefully, if not by the end of this year, the beginning of next year, the second one by the end of next year, and finally the human mission by maybe beginning of 2024. We had actually tried to plan it along with 2022, the 75 years, but because the COVID thing, whole thing got disrupted, and our potential astronauts who had to undergo a training in Russia had to actually come back during the lockdown and the subsequent sequence of events. But this is a hugely ambitious mission. I think the hallmark of it is that it's absolutely indigenous, as was being mentioned by Ravish and Rakesh in your earlier conversation. From nut bolt to the planning of it, it's entirely indigenous. The team engaged in it is such a wholesome team, also having a number of female scientists, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his address this morning was again and again highlighting or emphasizing the role of women in the building of New India, the building of India 2047. But I see, while working in the areas of space and other scientific streams, from the level of participation, women have actually moved on to the level of leadership. So it's no longer women participation, which was at one point in time being emphasized or being pushed in. Now women are actually taking the lead in many of our projects. So, and similarly, as you asked about deep ocean mission, I think that's going to be unique, one of the first of its kind for the world. Because, and again the credit goes to Prime Minister Modi, India has among the longest coastal areas in the world. We have 7,500 kilometers or so of coastal area, starting from east coast to the west. And we have an ocean named after India. I was the other day telling some of the scientists from Australia, I said, you have a country, you have an island, you have a continent called Australia, but your ocean is not named Australian Ocean. But here we have an ocean named Indian Ocean because maybe our forefathers could see the huge resources underneath. So now deep ocean mission, we have already launched our research vessel ship called Samudrayan last year to discover the living and non-living resources underneath, the minerals underneath, and I'm sure in the years to come, in this Amrit Mahakal, the 25 years, large part of India's economy will be contributed from our ocean resources, which have incidentally remained unexplored all these years because it was never given that kind of an attention or priority.
Absolutely. You know, it's all part of what Prime Minister said, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan, Jai Anusandhan. So what Dr. Jitendra Singh is talking about, the space mission, and the deep ocean mission, innovation is at the key of all this. I thank you very much, Dr. Jitendra Singh, and I wish you all the very best and a very, very 75th Independence Day to all of us today. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnab. Thank you,
sir. Thank you. And we are going across, viewers, to Srinagar.